This is Turn 1 Thoughtseize. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Dylan.
And as you may notice, Zach is not here this week. Zach is testing feverishly for the Pro Tour Mythic Championship.
Come on, man! Bring it!
MTG, BBQ,
whatever we call it these days.
No longer it's a Pro Tour at a GP. Neither of those things
Magic Fest
anymore. Right. It's a Mythic Championship at a Magic Fest. Got it. So that's what he is doing right now. I talked to him earlier in the week and he was just like, Pro Tour. And I was like, all right, I'll find somebody. I was like, would you like me to find a replacement? I was like, we need to record this week. He's like, I absolutely cannot do that. And I was like, boom, I will find somebody else. And I did. And by that, I mean, here's Dylan. For people who may not know name or face, you can see his face on Star City Games, where he is a frequent contributor, and also the Star City Games Twitch channel, wherein he is often a featured competitor in the feature match area.
Depending on how well we're doing.
Sure. I mean,
on a given day.
Some days are better than others. I get that. I never have that problem because that's not my life. The grinder life, I like literally tried it for a month and I was like, this is the worst thing ever. I do not know how people do this. I'm glad that people do it. I cannot be one of those people.
It's quite the lifestyle because, you fail, you succeed, you fail. And, you definitely fail more than you succeed, but it's just, putting your head to the grindstone. And, that's the beauty of Magic, right? There's so many different ways you can experience the game. You can grind every weekend. You can make podcasts. You can stream on Twitch. So, there's a little something for everyone. So,
indeed.
And this is my first time on a podcast, which is exciting.
Is it really?
Yeah, this is my first time guest starring on a podcast. So
I did not know that. So this is episode 98, Calling All Degenerates, part 2. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we talked about Faithless Looting and what a nonsense card it is, and why people are playing it so much, and if you choose not to play it, what you should be playing. And if you're looking for the most powerful other thing, it's probably Ancient Stirrings, and we will get into that momentarily after the housekeeping. The Deck Builder affiliate link is still up. It is https. The S is very important. Doesn't work without the S. Store.decked, DECKED builder.com/T, the number 1 Thoughtseize. Show them some love. They support the show, and you can support us by supporting the people that support us. It's a whole chain. It's a virtuous cycle. And if you would like to support us even more directly, then clicking on the Deck Builder link, which you should do anyways because it's a good product that we use regularly, daily, probably too much. You can go to the Patreon. It's patreon.com/turn1thoughtseize, all spelled out. We have 2 new patrons since our last show, Aegir and Patrick. So thank you so much to both of them. And I believe they both popped into the Discord. I'm not sure. I know at least one of them has. And maybe both of them.
Discord's fun. I pop in there from time to time. It's good conversations going on in there. So
we're building a little corner of the internet, and it's nice. I have to say, it's like it feels it's like the backlash against social media is like all the group chats and the Discords and stuff like that, and it's nice. It feels more like home. So the metagame is shaking. It is moving and shaking quickly. There was a bunch of events recently, and there was GP Toronto, which was the probably the biggest, like, premier level. And I'm clicking around all my links, and this is the one I'm looking for. So GP Toronto, Grixis Death Shadow, one, unsurprising, an honorary Faithless Looting deck now.
The Miser's copy. The Miser's copy.
Is running one Faithless Looting. Some of them run two. Second place was a War Prison deck, not the only War Prison deck. This is the arguably more miserable version with Ipnu Rivulet as the single win con. Yikes.
And I have been on the receiving end of the Ipnu Rivulet more times than I care to admit, sitting there while I get ground out by that card.
Blech. Yeah. Oh, now they have Academy Roots. Okay, so they can also they've updated, quote unquote, their win cons to 2. That is also like a 2-card combo that kills you 2 points at a time over the course of like however many turn cycles, which is the classic Pirate Spellbomb Academy Ruins thing.
Right. You got to diversify the loops. 2019 is the year of main deck surgical extraction, so you gotta have more than one win condition.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we will come back to this deck as it is one of the. I refuse to call it a premier deck, but this is one of the main decks that is currently using Ancient Strength. Is it Phoenix? I mean, kind of easy mode, right? Like the deck's just real good. It's real good. It's real fast. It started playing Terramander, which is great because that card's great. And
it's the Delver Modern has always wanted.
It is. It's the Blue Tombstalker, which is like what Super Delver would be if he was not a Salamander Drake, which he is. Valakut came in, was top 4. Courser of Krufix, 2 Flame Slash, 2 Colony Heart Expedition, only 2 Summoners packed. Interesting.
Yeah, having played Scape Shift many years ago, that you can tell where the flex slots are. Like the Flame Slashes are definitely a nod to Old Thing in the Ice for sure.
Right.
So,
the card is so good.
Yes, it is.
We love Thing in the Ice. Dredge, I see that there has been 0 development in terms of. Oh, they moved one of the Dark Blasts to the main deck. Yep.
It's usually like that or the 3rd Conflagrate or something like that, but
so not a lot of innovation there.
Nope.
I don't know if there's a lot of room for innovation in that deck. Honestly,
no.
It's so few flex slots. Another Is It Phoenix. The difference between the top 4 Is It Phoenix and the top 8 Is It Phoenix was 2 Terramanders. You be the judge. All I'm saying. This one played Pyromancer's Ascension. 2 Pyromancer's Ascension instead of 2 Terramanders. And they did not do as well as the other person. So
by one round.
By one round, play Terramanders. Card's great. And then 2 versions of the Rock, which a small amount. Yeah, Planeswalker count. So one of them is 3-in-1 Veil Last Hope split. The other one is 4-in-1. And the swing looks to be a single Tireless Tracker. Yeah. Tireless Tracker and a Dark Confidant. But either way, both of them are running the correct number of Kalidas Trader of Get in the main deck, with just 2. And Scavenging Ooze, both of them are running 3. For Assassin's Trophy, that is aggressive.
Yeah, that is a lot, and I'm racking my brain for why that may be. Just the flexibility of it might just be too hard to ignore.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly like it is good against shenanigans. right? Like,
Yes.
because you don't have to, you just be like, I don't care what it is. Whatever your shenanigans are, I can kill them. You can't exile them, though. I like the Languish. This is like a holdover from when Spirits was really big, but it's also very good against humans. And sundry other things. I'm not sure if this is better than like just regular damnation. I don't know. Like, is there anything that's really like leaning on indestructible right now?
That's what I'm just running through my head on indestructible creatures, and none are coming up. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, Languish against humans. You know, when humans was really popular, because I know from casting many a meddling mage that Damnation was the go-to, and then, you know, the first time Languish got dropped on me afterwards, I was like, that's the thing.
Yep.
So,
Congratulations, opponent.
but right now, you know, maybe the random spirits decks that are still around with Selfless Spirit. That's actually the only instance of indestructible I can think of off the top of my head. So.
Let's see, both running Nissa Vital Force in the sideboard. This is a great card for like the mid-range grind. Mm-hmm. If you're doing the punching bag match where you're just like gut punch, and then your opponent's like gut punch, and you're like gut punch, and you just keep doing that until somebody's dead. Nissa Vital Force is a great way to break that up. And the rest of the top 16 ad nauseum with same thing. It's interesting. Okay, so this is ad nauseum with solemnity.
Oh, it's got the Solemnity Phyrexian Unlife thing going on. Okay.
Oh, right. Okay.
Wombo combo.
It's, yeah, I mean, it, God, I hate this combo so much.
Yeah.
So this is the weakest of the, I guess, 4 combos now that you can have in here, or 3. So like plan A is still Lightning Storm, plan B is Lab Maniac, and I guess now you have a plan C in forcing a draw if your opponent can't remove a Solemnity.
Right. Forcing a draw, or, you know, effectively buying you infinite time. I would imagine in a game 1 situation, if you go Unlife into Solemnity, there's not a ton of decks in the format, especially the popular ones that can really, like, you know, handle something like that. So I could see, you know, that just buying you infinite time. And, you know, this deck is kind of a symptom of Izzet Phoenix being so popular, too, because it preys on that deck so much, which is why I think we see Chris almost making the elimination rounds.
Yeah, sideboard Grand Abolisher, that's a new one.
Is that the one where you can't cast during your turn, your opponent can't cast spell? Oh, okay, yeah, so you just get to do your thing.
Yeah, it's basically like no counter spells for you. This is just all that says. Plus, hey, you know what? If you're in Phyrexian Unlife Solemnity mode, you can beat down with that 2/2, and everything's great. Everything else here looks pretty standard. Burn, doing the thing. This is like, so this is just red white burn with the new stuff, with half the new stuff. How are you not playing Light Up the Stage, Richard Yam?
I feel like I saw some statistic that said that a lot more players in this GP did well without Light Up the Stage than with. Maybe it was Aurilax, because Aurilax has been a champion of burn for a while. It may have been him, and he was saying that, like, you know, Modern is a very fast format, and trying to leverage those, you know, maybe if we get to a world where the Rock is really popular, or, you know, control decks make a resurgence again, that card could be good. But right now the format might just be too fast for that card.
All right. If I had to play burn right this second, it would be the glorious return of Bump in the Night. Because let me tell you, Blood Crypt bump you turn 1 is a wonderful feeling, and the look that you get is even better. Like, what? Bump in the Night? And I've killed somebody with a flashback bump in the night, so that's not zero. That is not something that never happens.
The one time you were okay to draw six lands with burn.
Yep. Bam, get you. They always forget about it. What else do we got here? Burn. Humans. What are we doing here? This is Militia Bugler. Yeah, and I have a story of disappointment about that guy that we'll talk about later. Deputy of Detention, Phantasmal Image. One Phantasmal Image moved to the side. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Okay.
I'm usually very scrutinous of these humans lists, and I'm scratching my head at some of these numbers here.
Yeah, isn't Image is like the best card in the deck, right? Pretty much.
It is, but right now it's a liability with all the gut shots from Is It Phoenix. But if it, even now, Is It Phoenix is moving like more to main deck surgical instead. So but like you just said, Image is it's the best card in the deck a lot of the time. It's the second copy of the best card in your hand. That's what someone said that to me, and that's how I've remembered it. So
yeah. But Deputy Detention's in the mix. I like that.
Yep, definitely a big improvement from the new set.
And then Night of Autumn, same thing, right? Like the deck got like running good additions, like Night of Autumn, Deputy Detention, both great. So
as it will continue to do as time goes on.
Yes, it is almost like every single set will have new humans that are potentially playable.
New humans are honorary humans.
Right. This looks like mono green Tron. It is literally the exact same. Oh, sorry. They put 2 relics in the main and added a World Breaker.
World Breaker. Yeah. That.
And 4 Worm Coil engines. Okay, no, I'm wrong. This is way different. Oh, baby. When you really, 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 really don't want to lose to burn, you play 4 Worm Coil engines and 3 Thragtusk in the side.
Yep, and Thought Natsu too. That's just
yowza.
These lists have
Nature's Claim for your own stuff just to gain 4 life at instant speed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Blow up the Worm Coil too. Break it into 2 blockers if you need to.
I admire their commitment to not losing to burn. I guess aggressive decks, and because if they're quote unquote going off on turn 4 by casting Karn, or like on turn 3 by casting Karn, it's like Stone Rain, like 7, like even 3 mana Stone Rain or 7 mana, however you want to slice it. Stone Rain is kind of like not great right now. It's not what I want to be doing.
No, sir.
So I'm giving it up. I would have like World Breakers all day. Give me something with reach and 7 toughness. Like, how do you ever kill that? Mm-hmm. Like, hope that you have your singleton Flame Slash and they also block one of your Phoenixes, and then you get to kill it once. Yeah, I'm all in on World Breaker right now. I'm very confused about the rest of I guess you're gonna you're still gonna get them, right? Like, there's gonna be an amount of time that you just like slam turn 3 Karn and it's good enough. I feel like it's less than the normal amount of times that it's going to be good enough.
Right. I'm more interested in a turn 3 Worm Coil, against Dredge. For sure. You drop that and that embarrasses Prized Amalgam and Bloodghast real quick.
Yes. Agreed. And I don't they can conflagrate it, but if they're only running like 2 it's bad.
And you still get the death, you still get the tokens too, which...
Yeah, that's a mess. All right, yeah, I don't think Dredge can be a Worm Coil engine. Especially not a turn 3 Worm Coil engine.
Oh, no.
And then, rounding out the old top 16.
If I had to put money down, wouldn't expect these two.
Correct. Yeah, this would not be in my top 16 decks that I would recommend that somebody play in Modern. Two different versions, or maybe it's the same deck. Oh no, it's a couple small differences, but Daniel Wong and Matthew Stein both played the Time Walk deck, and it certainly is a thing. Okay. 3 Thing in the Ice in the sideboard. Why don't you just play the Thing in the Ice in the main deck so you can actually just win the game?
You do the old tried and true removal spell juke. Game one, you just cast Time Walks and your opponent's like, well, I can't Fatal Push a Time Walk, and then you Thing them game 2, and they're like, I look stupid.
Gotcha. Notably, another card that we will talk about shortly, 4 Chalice of the Void in the side.
Yeah, that is definitely a nod to the rest of the format for sure. Wow.
Aggressive.
Well, I mean, a deck like this probably struggles against a Death Shadow. So, Chalice of the Void has got to be beautiful there.
Yes. Now, Daniel Wong, notable proponent, I guess, of this deck. Mm-hmm. He's the quad sleeve guy. He knows what he's about. And what he's about is playing a quad sleeved, all foil, I believe.
Yep.
Time Walk deck.
Yes, it is.
And that is his thing. So to that extent, I say good on you, sir. Some interesting card choices. Snapback.
Yeah.
Which I guess
again, probably a nod to, it's a clean answer to Thing in the Ice.
Yeah, Thing in the Ice, like Gurmag Angler, like I get that. So it's stuff that Vapor Snag is good against.
Too big for the blue-red decks to deal with.
Yeah. Also, to Jason Mind Sculptor, Panoptic Mirror card.
What does this card even say?
Okay. So, for the people playing at home, Panoptic Mirror is a 5-mana artifact. It's a rare from 5th Dawn or Darksteel. I don't remember. Darksteel, I think. It has Imprint, the notorious mechanic from that Chromox has. So it's X, Imprint X. You may exile an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost X from your hand. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy a card exiled with Panoptic Mirror. If you do, you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So basically, at the beginning of your upkeep, you copy... Oh, you can exile multiple cards. That's why it's worded that way. So it's not like an Isochron Scepter where it's just one. You could have like a bank of spells and pick one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Jeez. So I've only ever... I actually own a copy of this card. I own a single copy of this card. And the reason is that it is a worse Mindslaver lock for exactly mono black Tron, because for 13 mana, stay with me,
I'm following.
you can Panoptic Mirror Worst Fears.
Oh my goodness, Worst Fears.
Yeah, that's right. 7 mana Mindslaver your opponent.
Oh, you can. Do you exile it too?
Yeah. So
but if you copy it, yeah, all right.
Right. So then from there, once you have those cards and 13 mana available, you get to take all the turns. In this particular instance, my guess is they just put a Time Walk on it. Probably.
Yep.
Probably Temporal Mastery. would be the. Oh no, because you can't miracle it. So
maybe
still paying 7. So yeah, okay. So time warp or probably time warp. I think is the cheapest.
Yeah, it becomes a. Because I'm thinking about the mana investment. It's 5 to cast it, and then let's say you want to slap a cryptic command on there. That's 4 more. But cryptic command doesn't seem super good. Maybe exhaustion every turn is probably okay. It makes sense that there's only 1 copy. It definitely seems like it's a good one of, for sure.
Yeah, and then commandeer, because sometimes they'll just get you.
Yes.
Commandeer, another, I guess it must see play in Commander or something like that, because there's no reason for this card to cost $6. It's 5 blue for an instant, and it has the following extremely weird text. You may exile 2 blue cards from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Okay. Gain control of target non-creature spell. You may choose new targets for it. If that spell is an artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker, the permanent enters the battlefield under your control. So, Steal Your Karn is probably good. Steal Your Ulamog is probably bad, because they can just use the trigger to exile the one that, exile your stolen thing. They can exile it with the trigger. But other than that, other than things that have weird cast triggers, Commandeer will certainly get somebody a non-zero amount of the time.
Right, and the fact that it's it looks like there's a second one in the sideboard. Okay. All right. For when you want to double up. All right.
Well, it's synergy, because you can pitch the second Commandeer and another card to the first Commandeer and really
naturally, of course,
get the sick value.
I wonder I'm so confused now. Oh man.
Okay, so there's Crackling Drake in the side. Another card which I feel like is a very reasonable include in the main deck. Once again, I get it, but think of the synergy. Think of the Commandeer synergy with Crackling Drake, because those exiled blue cards, if they are instants and sorceries, count for Crackling Drake's power.
Yes.
He's also running a singleton Gelectrode. Yes. It is a creature. It's one blue red for a 0/1 weird from Dissension. And it has tap. Gelectrode deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And whenever you play an instant or sorcery spell, you may untap Gelectrode. I have literally no idea why this card is in this deck. I guess if you have Panoptic Mirror, Time Warp, you are guaranteed to be able to actually kill your opponent with damage. That's a thing. But you can also eventually just draw your Part the Water Veil and beat them down with a 6/6. So it's there. Like I said, I don't know what it's there for. I'm confused, but once again, please, I like the art is super cool. It's a great looking card. I don't get it. I mean, there's even better versions of this card that exist.
I was thinking about Thermo Alchemist, but then I think Thermo Alchemist only targets players, so maybe that's the little nuance. Maybe
I guess, I don't know. Electrostatic Field, and I mean Gutter Snipe. There's a lot of things. So there must be a reason. If I ever see him in person, I will ask him.
It has to be in my mind a desire to also target creatures on occasion. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yep, you're probably right. All right. So anyways, so that's that. So that was GP Toronto. There was also an MTGO Modern Final that was taken down by Laub. And some of these MTGO usernames really.
Yeah, can't pronounce that one. Cannot pronounce that one.
This person dusted off Death Shadow Zoo and just won the whole thing.
So, fun fact about our friend Lalau Wabiba.
Yep.
Would you take a guess at the place they came in the Modern Challenge? This event took place on Sunday. What place do you think this player came in the Modern Challenge on Saturday?
Last.
The day prior. Exactly 1 day prior to this event.
Was it also first?
It was also first place. This player won with this deck, same 75 cards. I looked. My jaw hit the floor. Won the Modern Challenge with this deck, and then took it and won a Pro Tour invite with it the next day. So that's pretty wild, if you ask me.
All right. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So this deck, for people who weren't playing, this deck is probably 2 years old, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Give or take.
It was one of the earlier versions of Death Shadow, like post when it first sort of happened, where it was like a rite of consumption, like fling combo deck. And before it turned into like there was a version in the middle that had it was like Death Shadow Phyrexian Life combo that was kind of cool, but it was fragile. And then people were like, oh, wait, Temur Battle Rage exists. Let me just make a 10-10 and like 20 you. And that's pretty much the plan. Death Shadow, Swift Spear, Street Wraith, Tarmogoyf, Wild Nacatl. Any of which, well, not the Street Wraith. Well, sometimes the Street Wraith. I've hardcast Street Wraith before.
Oh, yeah.
It feels good sometimes.
And it gets there.
It does get there.
Staring down opposing swamps, and you just get them.
Boom. 3 Become Immense, 2 Dismember, 2 Lightning Bolt, 3 Mutagenic Growth, 4 Temur Battle Rage, 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Mishra's Bauble. Very, very streamlined.
Yes.
And that is the thing, right? Like there are no openers that don't like have your opponent at 12 on like turn 3 or like turn 2 probably. Because like if you open with Swift Spear and you're on the play, you can just go Swift Spear, Mutagenic Growth, Mutagenic Growth, Mutagenic Growth, and you take 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, take 10. There you go. I like them apples.
Yeah, just this just kind of takes the disruptive blue cards from Grixis Death Shadow. Says, nah, I don't feel like those, fam. I'm just gonna kill you dead with good old Wild Nacatl Monastery Swift Spear instead. And Tarmogoyf, obviously. So 4 Temur Battle Rage. I didn't see the 4 Temur Battle Rage. Holy smokes! All right, this is all in.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. It's you win fast, lose fast, and it is definitely fast and is gonna win a statistically significant amount of time. Claim to Fame in the sideboard, amazing.
Yep.
Because the Fatal Push decks certainly have a lot of targets, right? Like everything in your deck, in the main deck, dies to Fatal Push. So that is a real concern. Claim to Fame, the Little Unearth is great because it's basically just countering a removal spell, and the backside, like +2 and haste. If you are also Temur Battle Raging something, that becomes +4. And you can just get people out of nowhere. I've seen versions of Jund for a very brief period running Claim to Fame, just like to juice up their Tarmogoyfs, and a big ol' hasty Tarmogoyf will kill you very quickly. Collective Brutality, Duress. This was the one. So Faith's Shield is a white. It's a single white, and the deck is playing 2 white sources.
Yeah, it's
Sacred Foundry and a Godless Shrine. So I guess technically this is 4 colors.
Is that the only white card in the entire deck?
You are correct, sir. It is a double splash. 2 lands devoted to casting this one single card. Face Shield is a single white instant. It says target permanent you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. And Fateful Hour, if you have 5 or less life, instead you and each permanent you control gain protection from the color of your choice until the end of turn. When the Fateful Hour mechanic was designed, they were thinking that if you were at 5 or less life, that you were losing the game, and you probably needed a little leg up to like get back in there. I don't think that they anticipated a deck that was like, I really want to be at like 4 life. And so these Fateful Hour cards become super, super, super good. Giving all of your creatures protection from whatever color of blockers your opponent has is a very strong way to win the game. The card actually has a surprising number of dimensions. Like, protection is a really strong keyword. So you can't be targeted, you can't be blocked, you can't be dealt damage. Like, there's a lot going on there. So at the very least, like, you can punch through an attacker, like face shield your Death Shadow. If you are going to do this, and your opponent happens to be playing red cards, make sure you Temur Battle Rage first before you do this. Because that's a feel bad.
Pro red. Oh, wait, no.
No. Same thing, become immense, mutagenic growth. Like, just be aware. Be aware of your sequencing. That is a real thing. 2 Fatal Push, 3 Hooting Mandrills in the side, in case Tarmogoyf is bad, I guess.
Yeah, Again, I'm trying to really think about why this deck has the numbers it has in it to begin with, and the Hooting Mandrills. I feel like this entire episode we've been looking at deck lists where there's just, a very calculated number of things on the sideboard, and I'm like,
Yeah. Like, this, there's a reason, right? Like, whoever this person is has, I'm sure, played many, many games with this and come to the conclusion that what it's missing is sometimes you just need 3 Hooting Mandrills in addition to or instead of some other threat. I mean, look, won the Modern Challenge and got a Pro Tour invite in 2 weeks with the same deck. I'm ready to accept that this person knows what they're doing.
Yep.
Hollow One came in second. Nothing to see here. Couple Liliana the Veils on the side.
Yep. Arguably, I feel like, I don't know how you feel about Hollow One. I feel like it's one of the most boring decks to look at from a deck list perspective every time we see it. Because
yes,
if there is a deck that you cannot touch the cards for the most part, it's Hollow One.
You have to get those cards into the graveyard, and they found the most efficient ways to do that in terms of cards, and there are no other cards that you can put in those slots that do the same thing as well. Trust me, I know, I've tried. Because Goblin Lore is a bad Magic card.
Yes, it is. It's an expensive one, too.
Period. It's just... But It's the only discard 3 for 2 mana that exists in Modern.
Yes.
Probably in the game. I have to imagine. I've never looked it up, but for what it's worth, this card is the only card that does that thing. I think there are other builds that sort of challenge some of the like goblin lore thing, where if you're gonna put Flamewing Phoenix and stuff like that in there, I feel like you are at least want to try Electro Dominance, Wheel of Fate, right? Dump your whole hand, draw 7. If you don't have a hollow one or Flamewake Phoenix, if you don't have a hollow one in your hand, then draw 7 is probably going to get you one, and you will be able to cast them for free. And if you're doing this on turn 3, you're going to at least be able to bring back 1 Phoenix. I don't see and who knows, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just not worth the additional thing, but I don't know. I feel like this deck could use a wheel somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's, I wonder if others have tried it and failed with it, because I know I personally haven't, and I have played a lot of Hollow One. But yeah, that is an idea for sure.
But yeah, so they found something that works and do not appear to be interested in innovating beyond that, which is a very defensible position. I don't want to, my perspective is that, it can always be better, but that 1 is not always true, and 2 is not always worth doing. So I am happy to spend my time doing it. I do not expect other people necessarily to just be always looking for that, whatever the next best thing is. Dredge. So here's the thing, right? First place, Death Shadow Zoo. Second place, Hollow One. Third place, Dredge. Fourth place, Dredge. Fifth place, Dredge. Sixth place, Dredge. Seventh and eighth place, Ensnaring Bridge decks. There's a pattern here that a canny observer will be able to pick out.
Yeah. Geez, this is the symptom of a much larger problem.
Right.
With the Modern.
All the same thing, right? All the Dredge decks are basically the same. They have a couple of cards different. They're all trying to do the same thing. There's one version that has 4 Leyline of the Void in the side. The other ones have 2.
That seems weird. I don't know about you. I am very upset when I see less than 3 ley lines, and I am still wary on anything less than 4. So
yeah, generally speaking, I'm a 4 or 0 kind of person. I have played 3 in the past. I dislike playing it in decks where I don't have something to do with the extra copies. But I also think it's kind of it's kind of a trap, right? You are priced into mulliganing into it, but if you don't get there, not only are you down cards, but you also have 4 dead cards in your deck. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I would probably play Ravenous Traps in that slot if I were one of these people. That's just me. And I'm not above playing 4 Ravenous Traps. I would absolutely do that. Maybe 3. I think I would feel bad if I played 4. Now that I say it out loud, I probably would feel bad about playing 4, but I would definitely play 3. I think before I put 4 ley lines in there. Right this second. And I don't know, that could be wrong, but it just feels like if we're playing against Nature's Claim, if everybody's like, oh, they're going to bring in ley lines, I'm going to bring in my Nature's Claim. Sounds like a good time for Ravenous Trap.
Yeah. Juking Nature's Claim is a big deal. And, it in Modern, your ley lines aren't safe. You have to win the game still. You have to do your thing with ley line in play. And, because it's only going to... It's like a dam holding the water, right? And then the Nature's Claim comes and the dam blows and the water comes rushing out. And you have a limited amount of time to win the game. In Legacy, it's different because, like Manaless Dredge, for example, when you have 4 Leyline of the Voids in your sideboard, like I play a lot of Eldrazi, and when you have 4 Leyline in that format, you mulligan aggressively to it, because if you find it and you put it in play, they auto-concede. So, it's just so much different in Modern than it is in Legacy. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's... Dredge is still happening. Number 7, Pyro Prison. So this is a fast Chalice, fast Blood Moon, fast Ensnaring. This is like a slightly... Oh no, this is just the free win, quote unquote, red deck. I think my guess is that the Blood Moons were very bad and the Chalices and Ensnaring Bridges were very good.
I could see that, yeah.
Because I don't...
Well, Blood Moon was not very good against this top 8, that's for sure. Right. Except for Shadow.
Yeah, like the Shadow, but even so, like, it can still cast Monastery Swift Spear and Temur Battle Rage and Mutagenic Growth and Dismember and Lightning Bolt. It's like, you're not really... you're hurting their plan, obviously. Like, they want to kill you on, like, turn 3, which will be much harder if you go, like, turn 1 Blood Moon. But it's also, like, not 0, because then it's that same problem, right? Is you still have to win the game. You can't just be like, gotcha. And that is what I've historically disliked about these gotcha decks. Because if you attempt to get them and you miss, you're in a really bad spot. Especially in a deck like this where to go off, you are spending 3 to 4 cards. And if that's not good, you're like, you dumped half your hand for nothing.
Yep. It is you are risking a lot more than, the Legacy version of this deck. I keep going to Legacy, but
sure. Yeah,
the Legacy version of this deck gets to play 8 soul lands rather than having to put rituals in their deck, So, which is why that deck's a little bit stronger in Legacy than a deck like this. And I think this player likely made it to made the top 8. Again, you said it. Off of the back of Chalice and Ensnaring Bridge. I have a feeling that Blood Moon was not a big factor.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, look, some of the time, like, turn 1 Goblin Rabble Master or Legion War Boss is absolutely going to be something that most decks can't beat.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, if I was going to build this deck tomorrow for some reason, I would just drop the Blood Moons and play, like, you could drop the Blood Moons and play Lightning Bolts, like anything, right? Like, or no, it would be 2 mana. You wouldn't place a 1 mana spell in a Blood Moon deck, but like, I play Char, play Flames of the Blood Hand, like any of the 2 or 3 mana things, like play Fulminator Mage, like something. So I get it. I get where they're coming from. I don't think Blood Moon is where I want to be. Other than that, Anger the Gods seems good. Sideboard, Boil. Always a joy. I love a good Boil. Damping Sphere, Eidolon, Grafdigger's Cage, 4 Leyline of the Void. Yep. That's a thing. Rending Volley, Shattering Spree, Sorcerer's Spyglass, Torpor Orb. Torpor Orb, great. So this lanternless lantern deck is really just it is Artifact Prison that is not
this is
the other deck.
Is it not the other deck? What's missing?
This is the Ipnu Rivulet. They do not have a quote unquote alternate win con in the form of Pirate Spellbomb
Or Psy or something. Okay.
Or Psy. So all of their alternate win cons are in the sideboard. So this is Chalice, Ensnaring Bridge, Bottled Cloister, Crucible of Worlds. Your win con is Ipnu Rivulet. Crucible of Worlds is like your thing. Welding Jar, main deck Torpor Orb. That's they were really expecting humans.
Yeah, that is a slam dunk to go tutor for if you play against humans, and humans is more popular than spirits as far as the disruptive aggro decks go right now. So Torpor Orb, very, very good.
And then sideboard Gear for Ether Grid, Grafdigger's Cage, Pirate Spellbomb, talked about 2 Psy, 2 Sorcerer's Spyglass, 4 Spellskite. In case your 4 Welding Jars were not enough, you can have 8 Welding Jars, basically.
Yeah, this sounds like a nightmare for anyone trying to destroy target artifact.
Yeah, Sun Droplet, and then 1 Tezzeret the Seeker and 2 Tezzeret Agent Bolus. So this is, I guess, you sideboard into Tezzerator, but like minus all the things that made Tezzerator good. Like I said, I get it. Conceptually, I understand what is happening. I would not recommend this deck, personally.
It's hard. I think it's very hard to play. And
especially, also, like, if people are main decking Surgical and you have 1 win con, like, you're already a dog to the most popular deck. So, if you just, like, pop your Ipnu Rivulet once and they go Surgical, and you don't have a Chalice in play, or they've already blown it up or something, you're done. Game over. And I don't know. It's like a worse gotcha.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that deck's a mess. As far as I'm concerned. Burn. Number 9. Just missed the old top 8. Cindervines in the side. I like it. Approved.
Oh yeah, breaking off the copies from Disruptive Revelry. Okay. I'm about it.
Deflecting Palm is a thing. Ensnaring Bridge. Once again, Ensnaring Bridge, rest in peace. Very, very good. Probably, missed on breakers or something.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, Riftbolt, Searing Blaze, Skewer the Critics, Boros Charm, Skullcrack, like, it's Naya Burn.
Again, yeah. Notably no, the new
Light
card.
Up the Stage.
Light Up the Stage, yep.
Green Black Rock. And number 10. Yep.
10 and 11.
All the stuff. Tunis of Vital Force on the side. And number 11.
Lists look very similar to the list from the GP. The Kalidases really stick out to me as, those are like, all right, this is our anti-Phoenix tech. It's got 4 toughness, so it doesn't die to lightning bolt, Yeah,
looks like the number 11 took the Kalidases out for Coursers and played 2 Nile Spellbombs in the main. Okay. Sure.
Is 2 Dark Confidant normal? I feel like that's
no, it's usually 3.
Okay. That looks weird to me, so I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, it It used to be always 4, never cut. Well, in game 1 anyways. And then the worm turned a little bit, and people started going to 3. All right. We are getting very deep into the results, and so I am going to kind of switch us over to the main topic, because we're an hour deep.
Has it been an hour already?
Yes, and we're still on the first topic. Big takeaways. Chalice is great. It probably underplayed in a lot of decks in the sideboard as a sort of anti-shenanigans tech. If you're going to F&M, or you're going to like a classic at a Star City, like I don't know if you're going to see Electro Dominance Living End kind of stuff in the main event of like a Modern Open.
Unlikely, yeah.
I would expect to see it in the classic. Chalice on Zero is great against a lot of those decks. Chalice on Zero is great against a lot of the artifact decks too. Anything that relies on Mox Opal. Countering Welding Jar for nothing is also great. But you can lock out a lot of their post board in Nature's Claim by just dropping Chalice on 1, and then your hate gets to survive. And that's really for as much as I'm sort of bagging on these Ironworks decks, the thing that makes them at least more palatable to me is that they can't beat Stony Silence and Chalice on 1. Like that, they're completely locked out of the game at that point, which was not the case for KCI. I guess if Canister's new thing is he really wants to get like Ipnu Rivulet or Blasting Station or Grinding Station or whatever, one of those cards banned, then good on you. Good on you.
Maybe it's an elaborate hashtag MTG finance scheme to up the price of Semblance Amble and Grinding Station, and then get it banned.
Well, apparently, I mean that did happen. That was an actual thing that happened. Is Semblance Anvil, of all things, sold out immediately, and is now a $10 Magic card, up from $1.90. Oh, $2. It went from $2.60 to $15, and now back to $10.
No card is safe from the MTG finance machine.
Yeah, and I am not convinced personally.
Oh no, I don't think. I think after the hype calmed down, I think many are no longer convinced.
Yeah, and the buy list. So like all these people that jumped on it at like $10, the highest buy list is $2. Like you're not making your money back at any point. So I hope that all the people that bought them really, really want to play with them.
I would hope so too, for their sake.
Otherwise, they're going to be very sad pandas. Other stuff. Mana Leak. Nobody is respecting Mana Leak, and nobody is expecting Mana Leak, because currently nobody is playing Mana Leak, and that means it's a great time to play Mana Leak. You will get people. I've seen multiple people exclaim on stream, "Who even plays Mana Leak?" And the answer is the smart person that just got you because you were not expecting Mana Leak.
I'm trying to poke through blue-white control lists and see if they've started to re-adopt Mana Leak, and I see a couple lists.
There you go.
So
ahead of the curve,
as a Hall of Famer should be.
Yeah, one hopes. All right, so now on to the topic of the day is what are we doing? What degenerate stuff are we doing with Ancient Stirrings? And the stuff that we sort of pulled out was Amulet, Tron, Grixis Whir, and I guess that sort of Grixis Whir slash prison slash semblance anvil, I guess, is going to sort of go in that. The Whir of Invention decks, I guess, are sort of all lumped together in that. Lantern, and then Hardened Scales Affinity. I do not have a lot of experience with Amulet. How have you played Amulet before?
I have given it the old college try. Let's put it that way. You know, that it is your quintessential. I think now that KCI is gone, it has officially taken the title of biggest brain deck in all of Modern. There's just so much going on with it. And it's weird too, because you look at all the pieces of the deck, and it almost doesn't even. It doesn't
make sense to look at the list.
Well, you look at it and you're like, it's a little bit harder to think of it as an Ancient Stirrings deck because you're almost only getting lands off of it. But it still very much is an Ancient Stirrings deck. Let's see, I'm looking at this list right now. There's 28 lands, 5 artifacts. So, that's 30... and a Ballista, excuse me. So that is 34 hits for Ancient Stirrings. So, it's using Ancient Stirrings in a different way than the rest of these decks are, which are... They're trying to get artifacts or, otherwise colorless spells, whereas this deck is trying to find, the extra Karoo land you need to cast that Titan a turn early, or... a Simic or Sunholm or something like that to give you Titan's double strike. So it's different. It's unique.
Yeah. It's still a very powerful deck, a very fast deck. If you're going to do it, practice with it.
It's hard.
But it's still, honestly, like, it's pretty cheap too. Like, I was surprised. These are not, this is like a sub $1,000 like tier 1 deck.
Yep. And all the cost is, oh my lord, Azusa is a $40 magic card. I did not realize. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
And Amulet is also expensive. But
yeah, Amulet. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had not seen that. The last time I looked at the cost of Amulet, it was like $12. It is now $35-ish. Like 30, call it 30. This version is running Coalition Relic, a card which I do not understand. And Penthead Prism? What is this person doing?
Oh, that is Edgar's list, right? Is it Edgar?
It could be.
Or Daryl, or
Is it a thing that I'm not aware of?
The Amulet Cabal, they're always trying to experiment and try to find the next thing. I think those lists are playing Pentad Prism and
Coalition Relic.
Coalition Relic, yes.
Yeah.
So
sure. Yep.
Just
done. Got it.
Really good. Just an alternative form of ramp, I guess.
Yeah. So, anyways, the non-Bizarro versions are closer to 700. So,
yeah,
even so,
cheap.
Quite good, quite inexpensive considering beating Amulet. Damping Sphere, if you also have a clock, is very good against them.
Correct.
And that's kind of what you need to do is stumble them and then close the game, because eventually they will just without doing anything fancy eventually just hardcast that Titan, right? It's the old Tron Blood Moon problem.
Exactly.
Like, here's my Blood Moon, and they're like, okay, well, I just have 7 lands, so here's my Karn, and I exile your Blood Moon, and then I kill you.
Yes, that, speaking from someone who's played a lot of humans, Damping Spheres, humans' best avenue to beating Titan and Tron is Damping Sphere, because, you said it packs the clock behind the Damping Sphere to actually make it so that they don't get to break out from under it before they're dead. So...
Yeah. So Tron, obviously, I think is the same thing. I I think Tron, as compared to Amulet, is much more reliant on that because all of their other tutor effects are, I mean, and it's right. It's a virtual tutor in that deck.
Yes.
You know, all of their other tutor effects are 2 mana or more, and they need to, they're not going to like come out of the gate, but they really need to be firing pretty consistently by turn 3, turn 4. You know, if they don't happen to have like the nut hand where they're just like Tron piece, Karn, they need to be able to hit that consistently. So in terms of, you know, playing it, play Ancient Stirrings early and often. In terms of fighting it, Chalice is really good. Chalice is better on the play. It is not as good on the draw. So if you're like a dopey deck that is, or like a dopey's the wrong word. Mopey. There we go. If you're a mopey deck that's kind of a dog to Tron, game 1, then bringing Chalice in on the side is probably not out of the question. Main deck, unless you're bringing it out fast, I don't know if it's going to be fast enough, because once they get going, it's just sort of like, it's just gravy. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll cast my Chromatic Stars and stuff like that, just to draw cards, just to rub it in. Essentially, at that point, once they've gone like Karn into Ugin, or like Karn Wormcoil, and then also a bunch of other stuff, it's just a flex. So you don't want to turn off the flex, you want to turn off the thing that gets them there.
The engine, right. And it's interesting, real quick, comparing Amulet Titan to Tron. Damping Sphere, much stronger against Tron than Amulet Titan. Still good against both, but, you know, Damping Sphere, much stronger. And then Blood Moon is the opposite. You know, Blood Moon is not, you're not very strong against Tron, because they can still just cast Oblivion Stone, with very little difficulty through Blood Moon. So you got to cut them off that mana, which is basically what you just said. And then Amulet Titan can, like, almost cannot beat Blood Moon. So
right. Yep, it is very tough. So let's do Hardened Scales first, because like obviously the like Lantern War, Hardened Scales, or Lantern War, Semblance Anvil shenanigans all goes together. Hardened Scales is in a weird spot. So I've been thinking to myself recently about it. Like, it is an Ancient Stirrings deck. It is a very aggressive deck. It's a very fast deck, but probably not an aggressive deck in the way that we would normally think about, like an aggro deck. And I think the thing that really makes it an Ancient Stirrings deck is that it really needs selection, because if to look at it, it is a literal pile. Like the deck itself is just bizarro synergy. And you need to have all those cards, or you need to have the right cards at the right time. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything. You're just like playing 1/1 Walking Ballistas and losing. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This is the most synergistic deck I think I have ever experienced playing Modern. Everything plays with everything else, and if you have one thing by itself, a lot of the time it's not going to be particularly great. Steel Overseer by itself, just chilling, not very good. Arcben Ravager without a plethora of artifacts to eat up, not very good. You put them together, it's a powerhouse. So
yes.
So you got the 4s right across the board, because you're playing very powerful. As opposed to like OG Affinity, right? You have very powerful artifacts that you're playing. They're still synergy driven, They still need the other ones to work. And Ravager is the best one by a lot. But
sure. You're not playing Signal Pest. Like this is not that deck.
Yes, you are not taking an Ornithopter and then hoping you have cranial plating to make it enormous. You know, you need a little bit less to really go off. You have more payoffs, but you need them. And you know, hardened scales is a very important element of this deck too. This was a deck that benefited greatly from the banning of KCI as well. This deck disappeared basically when KCI was really popular.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. The other, I mean, my big thing with this deck, I guess that I have a hard time getting my head around is like, what am I playing? Like, what is this better than? Right? Like,
exactly.
Is it just, do I want to play something that is very synergy driven? And I guess sometimes I do, but is this the best synergy deck?
I would argue that it isn't, because you know, Faithless Looting and Arclight Phoenix is a pretty nice synergy, or Thing in the Ice with Manamorphose and a ton of cantrips is also really nice synergy. So
right, or like Death Shadow and Street Wraith, like those cards work really great together.
Here's my quick spiel on hardened scales. When it first became popular, you know, it was kind of like another pet deck of Matt Nass's and co. And it was very good in that metagame because it preyed on all the noble hierarchs. There was just a ton of noble hierarchs running around at the time. And boy, oh boy, is Walking Ballista just a fantastic mandate card in a metagame like that. You know, but the power level of this deck, especially compared to, you know, this was Is It Phoenix dominating everything. The power level of this deck just pales in comparison to what Dredge does, to what Is It Phoenix does, and it is a very powerful deck. But it just feels, again, I played this deck in 2 opens, and it just felt like a lot of the time I was a notch below everyone else. You know, so that's my little rant. That's my little rant on this deck. I don't think it's powerful enough. That's the TLDR. It's not powerful enough.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, hey, kudos to the 2 people that made top 16 in the Modern Finals. I don't know. Good for you. I don't think they're playing Llanowar Reborn too. Oh man, Llanowar Reborn was supposed to be the hotness with Incubation Druid. We haven't seen that one materialize yet.
No, not yet.
It is unlikely to do so. All right, so Lantern, Grixis were this semblance anvil deck that hopefully will go away soon.
Yeah, I don't expect to see that hanging around very long.
Yeah. So these decks are all basically, well, let me rephrase that. The Lantern and Grixis are ensnaring bridge decks, and they basically live or die as based on whether or not that card is in play. If you are the pilot, your job is to either get that, or if you happen to be playing against Burn and they draw the spells half of their deck, your Witchbane Orb, you gotta get that going as fast as possible. And Ancient Stirrings is a huge part of that. I would say that we're past turn like 3 or 4. Whir is probably a bigger part of it, but you need the cards. Like, you need to have Mox Opal. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to get there a lot of the time. You just, because you're not really doing anything else. Until you can establish some kind of lock, your deck does almost nothing.
Oh, yeah. Big agree. That is cannot disagree. Or
anything that gets you... Yeah, anything that gets you bridge or occasionally Witchbane Orb is it. I do they have the benefit of running like a bunch of engineered explosives, but if they are in a position where they have to engineer explosives for 3, they may just end up losing to their own engineered explosives. So sort of, yeah, I guess be aware. There's the play patterns are complicated because the sequencing really matters. So if you're going to play these decks, you're going to need reps. These are not decks that you can go to an SCG open level or above event and just be like, here's my weird deck. Nobody's going to be ready for it. I'm totally just going to roll the field. That's not going to happen. You need to be able to have a sequence in your head for the big decks that you're going to face, and you're not going to get that just by looking at it, because it is also not intuitive. Nobody's sitting there going, oh yeah, man, that's exactly how I play this pile of cards that has no apparent synergy between trying to remove the attack step. Okay. So find your bridge, play your bridge, don't get countered.
The end.
Play around Mana Leak.
Play around Mana Leak, yep.
Well, I mean, Stubborn Denial, I think, is your nightmare scenario in this deck, because you're just in the early turns, you're going to have to tap out pretty much every turn, and so just the Force Spike will get you, and then it's all over. Oh, that and Noble Hierarch, because Ensnaring Bridge versus Noble Hierarch is hilarious. For those unfamiliar with the interaction, because Noble Hierarch has 0 power, it can always attack through an Ensnaring Bridge, even if you have 0 cards, and the Exalted trigger goes on the stack after it's declared as an attacker, which means it gets the power bump afterwards, so they can always sneak over the bridge and bonk you. And if the game goes long enough, and there's a bunch of them in play, then the game will end for you very quickly. So maybe throw that Pyrite Spellbound back in the main, because you need to kill Noble Hierarchs.
Yeah, there's nothing more demoralizing, for sure, than losing to a Noble Hierarch. Again, I have so many humans anecdotes, people are like, haha, bridge, and I'm like, ones with Exalted. It's just I win.
Gotcha. That's right. The 19 turn clock does in fact get there. I guess in terms of fighting these decks, Stony Silence is very good. Shadow of Doubt is a getcha. Any kind of even just regular disruption is great. Inquisition of Kozilek is an amazing card to play against this deck. It hits everything in the entire deck except for Witchbane Orb. And if you happen to hit Crucible of Worlds, I do not believe they have another. Yeah. So if they have Crucible of Worlds in their opening hand and you Inquisition it, and they don't draw Academy Ruins, they're Singleton Academy Ruins. They can tutor for it Teleria West. All right, they got options. It's a hit off Ancient Stirrings. They can get it with Teleria West. All right, scratch that. Surgical. Stony Silence, obviously. Shatterstorm, stuff like that. Stuff that's either going to go over Chalice, because you have to assume they're going to play Chalice on 1. Possibly, can they play it turn 1 off of... No, they do not have Darksteel Citadel, because in theory, they would be able to go Darksteel Citadel, Mox Opal, Mishra's Bauble, and then play Chalice for 1 on turn 1, but they don't have that. So I guess they're on turn 2 unless they have multiple Baubles and an Opal. So assume they're going to do it for 1. Make sure that you have some way to kill an artifact that does not cost 1 mana.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to rack my brain for alternatives, but
yeah, there's not. I mean, Destructive Revelry, I guess, because it's gonna take them a little while to get to 4 mana. Probably. 21 lands, Ancient Stirrings. They should be hitting their land drops, and they can Chalice for 2 on turn 3. Or like if they're accelerating like Opal into Opal, they could do it earlier, but I don't know about that. I don't know if that's a plan.
It doesn't seem like a consistent one, unfortunately.
I don't like it. Yeah. So I guess also just if you're going out there, like, don't leave your Stony Silence at home is sort of the other lesson. Like if you can only play Rest in Peace or Stony Silence, I guess you probably play Rest in Peace, but if you can play both, I would definitely do both.
Yes.
Like, Rest in Peace is going to hit more decks, and it does hit at least the recursive, like the Grixis War deck. I don't believe, if you have some way to get around Engineered Explosives, I don't think they can beat Rest in Peace. So there's sequencing on both sides. It's like, figure out the thing that you can't beat, and then figure out the thing that they can't beat, and do the thing that they can't beat and avoid the thing that you can't beat. Which I guess is how you win every game. Yeah, that's Magic in a nutshell.
That's Modern in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's Modern in a nutshell.
Yeah, it feels like we're on a different planet when we're playing this format half the time.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, standard is really good right now, but it feels like not Space Jam, right? Like, we're playing regular basketball.
See, you say that, and then last weekend I played a deck with like 16 guild gates in it. So, there is some spice to be had. I don't know. Sure. I don't know if you've ever cast a Circuitous Route with guild summon in play. Let me tell you, it is a cheat.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, some people have been trying to make Maze's End work in Modern since Dragon's Maze came out.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that there's like now more Gates Matters cards that are actually good, the Gate community is just over the moon. Like Gates Ablaze, Gatebreaker Ram, so many things that have the word gate in them.
The Ram is so beautiful. That is such a powerful card.
It is, like, it's a cool card too. There's like, in the back of my head, I'm like, is there a version of Amulet that just runs guild gates? Like, is that a world that I want to try and live in? Because I don't know. I mean, Gatebreaker Ram is a really good card if you have 22 guild gates. Like, I don't know. I've not gone down that particular rabbit hole, but you never know. Things could happen. If you are unfortunate enough to come up against the Semblance Anvil deck, it is unconditionally worst KCI. So behave appropriately.
Can still kill you turn 3, but yes, it is worse.
Yeah, so Semblance Anvil, for those of you that were not disappointed opening like Scars of Mirrodin packs and having that as your rare, it is a 3-mana artifact with imprint. When Semblance Anvil enters the battlefield, you may exile a non-land card from your hand, and spells that you cast that share a card type with the exiled or the imprinted card cost 2 less to cast. So this gives you free Grinding Station, free Ichor Wellspring, free Mirror Retriever, and then all your Star, Spellbomb, Terrarian, all those become free, and your Scrap Trawlers cost 1. So you are generating free mana with Chromatic Star, and that's sort of then you get into the Mirror Retriever, Scrap Trawler, Pyrite, Spellbomb, Mox Opal, Engineered Explosives, like the KCI loops. And the sack outlet is Grinding Station, the text of which I really have not read since 5th Dawn came out. Okay, so here's how the deck works. So the mill portion is Grinding Station is 2 mana artifact. So with Semblance Anvil in play, it costs 0. It's tap, sack an artifact. Target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. And whenever an artifact comes into play, you may untap Grinding Station. So once you have the Scrap Trawler Mirror Retriever thing going on, it's just a 3-card combo. Grinding Station, infinite, mill you out. Wheel of Sun and Moon would be pretty hilarious. I'm trying to think, just that. Is Wheel of Sun and Moon both players or just players? It's another card I haven't read in a million years. Enchant player if a card. Okay. So you can enchant yourself. There you go. Enchant yourself with Wheel of Sun and Moon, and all those cards go back onto the bottom of your library, and your opponent can't win the game. Short of the plan B, right? So then they are actually, to his credit, put Psy in the main deck. It's just like, it should be a Psy deck that also has like 3 copies. This should be like the Scrap Trawler Mirror Retriever Grinding Station thing should be Splinter Twin. There should be like 4 copies of Scrap Trawler and then like a copy of Grinding Station and 2 copies of Mirror Retriever, and then like the rest of the deck is just a side deck that you actually win the game with. And then occasionally you're like, oh, I have these 3 cards in play, I win.
Yeah, just so there's more, there's more dimensions. It's not as easily attackable.
Yeah. But that is not the world we live in.
Nope.
And then sideboard is almost exactly.
Yep. Is that Karn I'm looking at? Karn Cyanoversa? Yeah.
Yes. So it's a little hard to see. It's sideboard is a Swan Song, 2 negates, a 3rd Psy, 3 Karn Scion of Urza, 3 Nature's Claim, 2 Gear or Ether Grid, and 3 Galvanic Blast. So, yep. Those are all cards. And like I said, all of those cards in the main deck, I still think are better than the cards that are in the main deck. Just make this deck. It's good. It has all good cards. And all you have to do is just play them in the main deck, and then you have you got a functioning deck. I don't know. I have tried to play combo decks before, and it does not go well. I am not a combo player. Like, I don't get the appeal. I mean, I understand the appeal in the sense that like you get big brain equity, and you get like, instant win.
Killing on turn 3 in Modern is a good feel.
Yes.
So I was playing KCI up until its death, for the most part, and it is a otherworldly experience when your opponent just plays their second land and like taps out for some spell, and you're staring at your hand and you're like, yeah, you're dead. Yeah, like, sorry, pal. Like, this is the world we live in right now. But
that's right.
Thankfully, Wizards took those toys away before it got too bad. But
I would argue they dragged their feet by a couple months. But
maybe it was one cycle too long.
So yeah, I mean, I would expect to see this deck, but same thing, right? Like it's a graveyard artifact combo deck. Attack the graveyard. Surgical Extraction is good. I guess your surgical target is like grinding station first. Or no, well, I guess Semblance Anvil.
It depends on which one gets to, if one gets to the graveyard. I think it's tough because you almost want to attack the Mere Retrievers or the Scrap Trawlers, but yeah, I think you have to play it by year. I think you have to decide. Yeah. I think you have to decide on the fly what you want to go after.
Yeah, because you need at least Scrap Trawler, Grinding Station, Semblance Anvil, I think, too, and then some 1 or 2 mana artifact or 0 mana artifact, and then I think you can go from there, right? Because then you just cast them for free. Sack something, so it has to be sackable too. Ugh, this is all over the place. So yeah, Grinding Station, Ichor Wellspring works. Chromatic Star, Welding Jar works. 2 Mox Opals work, and I think then Chromatic Star, Terrarion with Semblance Anvil somehow also works. Yeah, because you Grinding Station, blow up the Terrarion, get 2 mana, Scrap Trawler, trigger, get back a 0, and on and on and on. Woof. Well, these are all illegal Magic cards. So
that they are.
Prepare to be dazzled. Eeh. Oof. Eeh.
My feelings exactly.
Yeah. Woof. All right. So that's pretty much that. What are you playing? So the decks I have always have decks that I'm playing and working on. What are you playing and working on?
In Modern. So, as we've mentioned before, grinding on the SCG Tour a lot. It's been a lot of Standard for the last few months, which has been a blessing. But I'm dipping my toes back into this post-KCI banned Modern. Giving Is It Phoenix a look, giving Dredge a look, because those are your powerhouses. But when I'm trying to get my brewing cap on, I always go back to Humans, because Humans is my baby, and so trying to customize it, trying to find room, I think, for Chalice of the Void in the sideboard of Humans right now. I think that's a goal of mine. So I would say I'm looking at the top tier stuff and tinkering with my baby.
Sure.
So.
On that, people will recognize a through line of this episode, which is you should play Chalice of the Void if you can. I don't remember if I had it. I don't think I had done it when we recorded the last show, but between then and now, at the very least, I took Legacy Soldier Stompy, ported it to Modern, and because, basically on the strength of Chalice and Thalia both being great right now, the deck does a lot of things. It is a fast Chalice, fast Thalia, fast Suppression Field deck. So ideally you're trying to get one of those out on turn 1. Suppression Field on the turn 1, Suppression Field on the play against any of the 3-color decks is basically just 3 time walks. Because your fetch lands then cost 2 mana to activate. So you can probably get the first one, right? If you're on the draw and you cast it, they'll crack their first fetch land. But then after that, if they have more fetches, they just sit there and do nothing. So once you have that in play, and sort of any of those things are usually some amount of good to just completely backbreaking, you then play Preeminent Captain, Star of M15, and Morning Tide, I think.
Yeah, I think a reprint.
So he, whenever he attacks, you can put a soldier from your hand into play. And this is where the soldier thing comes in. There's a lot of soldiers in Magic, in Modern. And some of them cost a lot. So like Captain of the Watch costs 6 mana. But you get a 3/3 that gives all your soldiers vigilance and +1/+1 and 3 1/1 soldier tokens. So like she's a steal of a deal for 6 mana. But on turn 3 or turn 4, off of an attacking preeminent captain, she's great.
Oh yeah.
And that's like, so that's the idea, right? Is then you cheat in some big mana thing. I've played right now. The build that I'm working on is, has a Johnny's Pride Mate, also a soldier, just in case you'd never read the entire type line, like everyone else in the world. And then Leon and War Leader, also a soldier. And my throwback from Theros Standard, I don't even know if they saw play in Theros Standard, but Dawnbringer Charioteers, also a soldier.
Oh, limited powerhouse. I want to think of a word, maybe like a Scourge of limited. That card was unbelievably powerful.
Yeah, so
I remember.
2/4 flying lifelink with heroic. There's nothing in the deck that triggers heroic, but just being a 2/4 or sometimes a 3/5 flying lifelink is like enough to get there, especially when you are powering up Johnny's Pride Mate. And Leon and War Leader is the same thing. It's like the cats having lifelink, or the cat tokens having lifelink, is insane. And so you can get into these situations pretty early where you establish like a soft tax lock where you just sort of inconvenience your opponent on their first 3 or 4 turns, and then a single attack, usually like 1 or 2, is enough to pretty much clean them up. Some other notables that have been in that sort of like 6-ish mana slot. Swath Cutter Giant is amazing.
Swath Cutter Giant.
Yeah, he's a reader. He's from Guilds, I believe. It's 4 red white for a 5/5 vigilance, a giant soldier, and whenever he attacks, it does 1 damage to all of the opponents all the creatures your opponent controls. He's from Guilds. There he is. It's big boy season.
Yeah.
when he's on the field. So in a world where like there's tokens, he comes in. But I'd sort of put him in there just as a 5/5, and he was very good. He got the job done.
Oh yeah.
And then also Aerial Responder, the reverse Vampire Nighthawk from whatever Ether Revolt. It's one white 2/3 flying vigilance lifelink.
Yep.
He is a dwarf soldier. He's kind of he doesn't really carry his weight, but you're kind of priced into playing him because there are not a lot of good like 3-drop soldiers. So he occupies this weird like middle space.
Right. Also helps you race, other aggressive decks as well. So
yeah. Yep. Now he's I'm never happy to see him, but he always once he's there, I'm like, oh, all right, because I can't cut him. I can't. There's nothing else to go in that slot.
Right.
And then also High Sentinels of Erishin. It's a bulk rare from Dragons, I think. It's a I gotta look it up. There's so much text on this card. Oh, it's from Cons. I'm sorry. All right. 3 and a white, 3/4, bird soldier, flying, high sentinels, gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with a +1/+1 counter, and has the activated ability, 3 and a white, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So it can put counters on itself, but it gets the same benefit from putting a +1/+1 counter on something else. So, but they're birds, they're soldiers, they fly, they have 3 power and 4 toughness, and you can cheat them in off of Preeminent Captain. And that's why they're there. So, there was a brief, somebody top 8'd something with like red white soldiers, but it was basically like burn humans.
Yeah, that was the I think that was at Toronto. It didn't top 8, but I think they started with an undefeated record.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, I will find it because it's the only deck that plays Field Marshal.
Yes, that list is buried in many screenshots within my phone, but it's a wild ride.
Yeah. Oh, he didn't place. That's why it's not there.
Yeah, apparently the wheels fell off day 2.
Here we go. So this soldiers list, which is, like I said, basically humans, except the creatures all happen to be soldiers. Field Marshal is an old style lord from 10th edition and probably something earlier than that because of the templating. But it basically says all other soldiers get +1/+1 and have first strike. It's a 3 mana 2/2. Champion of the Parish, 2 Brimaz.
Brimaz is sweet.
Yeah, I played one. I played up to 2. I think at the most I had 2 Brimaz. But War Leader is just better, and he War Leader functionally costs 3 if he comes in off captain. So it was sort of a wash, and the lifelink was relevant. That's why he unfortunately did not make the cut. And then 2 Kytheons. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 3 Soldier of the Pantheon. 7 1-drops, 2 Paths, 3 Thalias, 4 Tithe Takers. Tithe Taker, I've had a lot of good luck with, honestly. I put him in the soldiers list that I'm playing, and he does a lot of he's like a mini suppression field. So he complements the sort of taxation, the tax plan, and the afterlife is really good. It's just totally free. Like he's a 2 mana 2/1 that has a bunch of conditional tax text on him, and then Afterlife 1, you just get like a free 1/1 flyer for playing him, and he gets all the soldier buffs. It's a really good card. I'm honestly surprised it doesn't see more play in standard, because it is that good. Thalia's Lieutenant. So there's the humans part, right? It's like Thalia's Lieutenant, Champion of the Parish, as Precinct Captain, which is white 2/2 first strike, and when he deals combat damage to a player, you get a soldier token. So, but the difference is 2 Path, 4 Bolt, 4 Lightning Helix, and also 4 Mutavaults and 4 Caverner Souls. Oh, this deck's gotta cost $1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, the caverns alone probably carry it quite a bit.
Wow. Well, I mean, even weirdly, Field Marshal is a very expensive card, especially for what it is. It's like $7, and I have no idea why. Oh, it's from Cold Snap. Ooh, all right. So originally,
and then in 10th edition again. Yeah. Okay.
Cold Snap and 10th edition, but the Cold Snap version is $5 and change. the 10th edition version is $6. Like, that's some casual players out there have been like carrying a torch for Soldier Tribal apparently for the past like 10 years because it hasn't gone below $3 since 2011. Like, I have no idea why this card is like, because it sees 0 play. Like, I don't even think it sees play in the Legacy version. Like, the Legacy Soldiers has Daru War Chief, so like I don't think they even play this, but there you go. So weird old like 10th edition and Cold Snap rares that are just $6 despite seeing 0 play. Odd. Okay, sure. And like I said, it is the old templating, so it's other soldiers, not other soldiers you control. So like if you're playing the humans mirror, or like if you're playing against humans, it's terrible because all of your opponents soldier creatures, which happens to have a surprising amount of crossover, also get +1/+1.
Yeah, and the first strike is awful in creature combat.
Yeah, like so I skipped Field Marshal in all of my lists. He just didn't get there. But also for Mutavaults, which I like. Obviously, I have I'm predisposed to like Mutavault to begin with, and then also the fact that like it gets all the soldier buffs, and you can do like it can activate itself when Thalia's Lieutenant comes into play and get some counters. Like there's some neat sort of side stuff that you can do. Blue-black, not Delver. Blue-black Terramander. Yeah, blue-black Terramander Death Shadow. It's like a throwback to an old deck that we used to recommend to people who were trying to get into Modern, which was just it was like Delver Death Shadow, so it was 2 colors and not a lot of fetches, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. But it was still in a metagame that is amenable to playing like tempo, like aggro tempo kind of thing. You know, it had legs at the time, and now the fact that like Terramander, as we've covered, is just an unconditionally better Delver. Yes, I know you can't like blind flip it on turn 2 and get in for 3, blah blah blah. But it's not what it's for. It's pretty good. Like the deck is very consistent. It gets to play all of the good cards. Like you don't get Temur Battle Rage and Kolaghan's Command, which I don't even know if they play anymore. Is that even?
So I follow a bunch of the Death Shadow aficionados / experts on Twitter, and actually I think in the last like week or two they've all been fighting on whether or not that card is still something they want in the deck. It's kind of interesting. So,
because like I think once you get past that, I guess the red gets less useful in my head. Like I understand, like I get the whole Temur Battle Rage thing, but I think Temur Battle Rage gets less important when you have 5/5 flyers. Like it's very important if all of your stuff is just on the ground. I think it's less important this way.
For sure.
I've not had any problems like closing the game out with a couple of 5/5 Terramanders.
Terramander has been, it's like I said earlier, it's the Delver Modern always wanted.
Yeah. So I mean, it still needs tweaks. It had like some cute cards. I was hoping it was going to be the home for Ideas Unbound that I've been looking for since I found out that Ideas Unbound was a card. I don't think it is, but maybe. Probably not. The version that I'm playing right now doesn't have Disrupting Shoals, but I'm sure there is a version that does play Disrupting Shoals that could be out there. Because I'm trying to I've been trying to relive my Rug Delver high from when Probe was still legal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are that way.
I've been chasing that particular dragon for quite a while, because that deck was a blast. It was so much fun, and so I'm working on recapturing that particular lightning in a bottle, and this is, I think this with Disrupting Shoal would be like pretty close. I have Bug Death Shadow too. That is like similar, gives me the similar feel. Lets me play with my Tarmogoyfs. Makes me feel like that was not a foolish investment. Whether or not it was, I don't care, because I got the old ones and they're great. Yep. Yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at. Is there anything else that you would like to cover before we move on to the spiel?
Just trying to think of what areas in Modern that really interest me that haven't been explored. Wilderness reclamation. That's another. Oh, yeah. We could talk for another hour about that. So I won't go in too much. But I'm waiting for someone to break a wilderness reclamation deck in Modern. I think it's going to happen.
That Mystical Teachings deck is something.
It's sweet. I keep running into it with humans though, and holy smokes, it cannot beat humans. I don't think it can beat anything disruptive, which is the problem. Yeah. So, and it's gonna need some work for sure. But
I feverishly started building a wilderness reclamation in like a Death Cloud kind of shell, where it's like green black, like big mana. The problem is like all the green and black payoffs are all sorcery speed, so you really don't get like the oomph.
Right.
The only instant speed payoff in those colors that I found was Empty the Pits, and I don't think that is good.
No, absolutely not.
Just like, I was trying to kind of like do the math on how much mana I would need to make me feel like it was worth casting, and it worked out to be 24. And I was like, I'm good. If I'm generating 24 mana, I want to be doing something other than making 12 zombies with it. Right? Or no, 10 zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 zombies.
Yeah.
I feel like there's way easier ways to make 10 zombies. And so that was a non-starter, but the wheels are turning. I'm sort of like, I'm always looking for a home.
I'm lazy, so I'm going to let other people figure it out for me.
All right, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm working on it, okay? I will get there eventually.
On my desk on Monday.
Yeah. It's going to be later than that. Before we get to the Spice Rack, you can visit us on Facebook, facebook.com/turn1Thoughtseize, all spelled out. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at T1Thoughtseize. Dylan is at INGRATHISMTG. You can watch a stream at twitch.tv/T1Thoughtseize, sponsored by our friends at Card Hoarder. You can watch Dylan's stream at the same address, right? It's all the same.
Yep, Ingrathis MTG. So
okay. So do that as well. You can see our YouTube videos at youtube.com/Turn1Thoughtseize, all spelled out. You can read my columns at blog.cardkingdom.com. You can become a member of the Thoughtseize Cabal at patreon.com/Turn1Thoughtseize, all spelled out. And of course, you can see all of our content on Turn1Thoughtseize.com. The Spice Rack card for this week is Jotun Grunt.
Love it. So strong.
So strong. So he's a 2-mana 4/4 from Cold Snap. Came back across my radar because he is a giant soldier in more ways than one. He is creature type giant, and he is also a unit.
Yes.
Not a lot of 2-mana 4/4s out there. His downside is he has cumulative upkeep, world's worst mechanic. Put 2 cards in a single graveyard on the bottom of their owner's library. And the reminder text for cumulative upkeep, which I always have to look at, is at the beginning of your upkeep, put an age counter on this permanent, then sacrifice it unless you pay its upkeep cost for each age counter on it. So you cast it, and then the next turn, so your next upkeep, it gets a counter, and you have to put 2 cards in a single graveyard on the bottom of their owner's library. And then the next turn, you have to put 4 cards, and then 6 cards, etc., etc. So it sort of works like, in this instance, sort of works like reverse vanishing, because if you play him early enough in the game, in theory, you're going to run out of cards to put back into people's libraries. But in a world where people are just like going out of their minds playing like Thought Scours and, trying to get stuff into their graveyard as fast as possible, 2 things. One, you are unlikely to run out of cards early, so you can probably get in a good couple of hits with him, which is really all you need. And the way that the age counters work is each instance, so each age counter's cumulative upkeep is paid separately, so you can split the age counters between graveyards. So like if there's 2 age counters on it, you can either do it twice to your opponent's graveyard, twice to your own graveyard, once to yours, once to theirs, and you get to pick the cards that go onto the bottom of their deck. They're not even shuffled back in, so it is almost like a graveyard tax effect. And it's totally bizarre. It's a neat card that should see more play. It is especially strong, strong in quotes, right? Like strong for a Spice Rack card. Right now, the art is sweet. The card is super cool. And, so grab some grunts, and the art always makes me laugh because it is 3 human barbarians like trying to make the grunt go do something. So they're like pushing and pulling on this giant, and that is to symbolize the cumulative upkeep that you have to pay to get him to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Which
I just like,
it's so silly, right? Because it's so funny when you can look at a card like this and be like, oh, that's such a downside. And then you really take a step back and you think about it, and it's almost immediate. You realize the impact, it has against the top brass of the modern format. Good luck casting your Gurmag Angler opponent. Put your 2 prized amalgams back on the bottom of your deck. Right.
Put your, Bloodghast on the bottom of your deck. Man, I would have to call a judge and figure out, or ask a judge how it would work if you targeted 2 Bloodghasts with this, could they crack a fetch in response and get them back onto the battlefield?
So how I think it actually works is it doesn't target, so the trigger goes on the stack, and then when the trigger resolves, that's when you get to pick, because it never specifies target.
Right.
So I think what would happen is the trigger would go on the stack, and your opponent would have to, crack their fetch to go get their Bloodghast back. Because if they let that trigger resolve, you get to yoink those Bloodghasts and send them away. And if they do fetch and bring the Bloodghast back, then you can take something else. So.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Which is arguably better, right?
Right.
That way.
Yeah. Anytime you can force action. Especially at a weird time like during your own upkeep. It's sort of it's an odd phase to be doing things for most people. But yeah, that's that. Where else can people find you?
I live mostly on the Twitter sphere. I really love to, engage with people. I post fantastic memes in air quotes, fantastic on my Twitter. You can, if you want to follow me and my shenanigans, I am a full-time grinder of the SCG Tour. I go to every event. I represent BCW Supplies. I'm on a wonderful team. If you want to follow my shenanigans, again, follow me on Twitter, Ingrathis, INGRATHIS MTG. And that is the same with my Twitch stream that I'm doing a little bit more regularly these days. Yeah.
Sweet.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on and sitting in for Zach on short notice. I appreciate that. So
yeah, no problem. This was fun. Talking about Magic in a format like this, because again, I've never done a podcast before. It's just fun,
Yeah, it'll get you. I guarantee you within the next year you will have a podcast.
Yeah,
that's my prediction.
I've thought about it a bunch, so I think you're not far off.
There you go. That's how podcasts reproduce.
Right. You get star on one, and then you're like, oh, this is kind of cool.
You're like, man, you know what? I should start a podcast. I think it'd be really fun, and it is. Yep. So that's it. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.